All right, we have a bill now headed to the Senate, the affordable housing bill, as is being crammed down the throats of this Kenyan, right? Who is behind all that energy? That is what Kenya is asking right now. Who is behind all that energy, according to Stano, given that particular editorial cartoon that is on your screen right now. We want to hear from Farah, especially with raised queries regarding the nature of debate. He's actually addressed that partly. And also we have Otede raising the issue of the 14 days for any publication, 2 days at least for a robust debate. But that has not really come to bear when it is on the floor of the House, especially on this critical bill. So when we talk about, this being steamrolled and there is an energy behind it, there is a force behind it, there is a PG that was held, and people were being told, of course, come rain or sunshine, sink or swim, this has to sail through. Is this what we experienced that particular day? And some of these issues that have been raised, I think we need to tease out because they are very critical, especially if there was no questions that was afforded for people to raise those queries. Farah.
Libao, we are in a multi-party democracy. And when you have a multi-party democracy, PGs, the parliamentary groups, are supposed to be active for all the political parties. I remember myself in the 7th Parliament, we had a very active PG, under the leadership of none other than Jaramogi Oginga Odinga.
Assisted by his son then, Raila Amolo Odinga.
No, the son was a rebel and he was never even part of that inner circle. I was closer to Jaramogi that time than the son. Son had his own issues outside. He was the deputy director of elections. I was a shadow minister for energy at the time. So Odinga was an institutional guy, he was not a family guy. Now, he might have been a family guy when he goes to his family, but he's running the institution called Fort Kenya at that time. He was an institutional person. Now, the fact that these political parties are not doing that, whether it is from Azimio or from KK, or, you see, is neither here nor there. It's a failure on the part of the political class, including all of us here. We should sit somewhere as a coalition or as a political party, as a PG, and deliberate exhaustively on some of these things. Educate ourselves. Not everybody is a lawyer. Actually, lawyers are far few and far apart in there. On the issue of the manner in which the debates themselves are conducted in Parliament, I'll read for you. It says here, it says, a member rising in his or her place may claim to move that the question be now put. And unless, standing order number 95, and unless the Speaker is of the opinion that such a motion is an abuse of the proceedings of the House or an infringement of the rights of members, however minority they are, however minuscule they are, the question that the question be now put shall be put forthwith, unless the Speaker now has the powers and the authority to say no, we're not putting in the question, and allow as many more people as possible to ventilate on these things and to have their say in that. Now, even for the ruling, even for the majority, it gives them a serious legitimacy for them to listen to everybody instead of pushing these things. Because we have a history of pushing. I told you we had a fundamental constitutional, repeal ourselves. We removed the multi-party and said Kenya is a de jure single-party country in 1 hour.
By overwhelming majority.
By overwhelming majority. With absolutely. And now this constitution, this new dispensation, all the efforts we put in for the last 30 years was designed to cure such abuse. Now, at this time, if I were on the other side of the KK side, I would have allowed, because you have the numbers. Once you have the numbers, what do you worry about? Don't worry about Otede Amolo, Omogeni, or anybody or everybody taking their time and literally venting out and saying whatever they have to say. I remember I think when we were in the 7th Parliament, there was a speaker in the U.S. House of Congress who was called Tip O'Neill. And he was a Democrat himself. But there was another guy who was called Newt Gingrich, who was a professor in the university, a very brilliant guy, who would talk for hours on end on the TV, hours on end. A few of them, about 3 or 4 of them, they literally come in there and they had a way of frustrating the Democrats from, running, basically approving their own, what they call legislations as fast as they wanted. But at the end of the day, those legislations got approved. I mean, they were passed because they had the numbers. And he would sit in there and listen to Newt Gingrich talking for hours on matters that were there and on issues that were on the floor of the House. So this business of trying to railroad, trying to limit these things and being in a hurry when you have the numbers is, I think, not good for our democracy. And I would implore my good friends to make sure that we allow the opposition to say as much. I was with Shikuku in the 7th Parliament. Shikuku would sit in there and talk and go back and pick up his papers and refer to them when he's there and literally had all the time the leeway. Like Kaparo was there, the late Buraya Godara was there, we were there ourselves. So to that extent, I have no, my issue is the rushing, railroading these things is not a good thing. Because you have the numbers, you have nothing to worry about. Allow people to say as much as they want to say. The other bit is that yes, you can shorten the number of days.
The issue is not the numbers, truly, because at the end of the day, it will sell through. The issue is the content of the bill that maybe they don't want to.
No. It's not that they don't want. It's not that they don't want. It's just I think. We've still got an element of the old sycophancy that was in there, and is a desire to out-Sarai and Sarai, what you call is to outdo everybody, being seen to be protecting the system of the day, but you're not protecting the system of the day. If anything, you're messing their name. So those people in KK should just sit back and allow and listen and listen and listen. If they can educate themselves on some of those things and they get brilliant ideas and change their mind, yes. If they can't change their mind, they proceed. Democracy would have been served because the opposition has had ample time to have its say, and the government will have its way. There's no doubt about that. So allow. Now the other bit is that you can shorten the days of publication. You can shorten all these things, but with the leave of the House. With the leave of the House. That must come before the House, and the House must accept it as a procedural motion. So I think if that was done, I'm sure, I don't know whether I was not around myself. It was done. It was done, then of course it was done. You can shorten it to as few as you want days. Now, the other bit is that, it's not the business of the government to run your PG for you. The government will run their PG. Whether they wanted somebody is railroading them or not is up to them. Political parties are private organizations, by the way. They're private societies. You know what I mean? So you go in there, and as a PG, you discuss whatever you have to discuss. You can do it over coffee. You can have your parties in there. It's up to you. Those other ones have no business trying to understand how you're doing your business. Whether one person is preaching to you and telling you everything and the rest of you are bowing down and going on your knees, it's their business. But you do your bit as a political party or as a coalition yourself by making sure that all the bills are debated in that PG, in the opposition. The opposition has serious work to do in this country, which I don't think that many people are taking that into heart. I know Tende, I know Mogeni, these are two brilliant lawyers, and they're looking at everything with a tooth comb. And then Mongatana the same, and people we have here and there in this morning's show, and then Kenan. But of course, that needs now to be much wider. You can sit in as a PG and literally educate everybody on the business that's going to come on the floor of the House, and get all the different sides to it, so that when you come in there as a PG, as a, what do you call it, a coalition or as a political party, you're so well informed, you've taken your positions. Whether you lose or you win, you still go and present your case. You see what I mean? You still go and present your case. And I think that's what's lacking right now. We still have, having a hangover of the old, single person who runs this thing, whether he's a political party leader or he's a, it's Raila or Ruto or Kalonzo or Uhuru, whatever it is. I think we have to get ourselves out of that. And as politicians who are in active politics by being in Parliament and in Senate, we have to come out and run our coalitions and our parties and our PGs in a manner that we think best benefits both us as a caucus as well as the country itself, and then adds value and educates the very brilliant law students and people who want to go into politics who want to listen to you. So let's educate ourselves and let's take that responsibility on our own shoulders. But then, whatever one party does, whatever one coalition does, it's their own business. We can't, you see, sometimes I get the feeling that we in the opposition would want to manage the government and run the government. You have no business running the government. You've lost the elections. There is the government of the day. Let them make all the mistakes. Let them pay the price later on. He was right. He said, they said, read my lips, no new taxes. That's what George Bush said. No new taxes. Read my lips.
It was the undertaking.
And then, of course, this young, what do you call, Arkansas governor who Bill Clinton comes from nowhere, and from a 78% approval rating 1 year to the elections, he defeats him hands down.
Because of taxation.
Because of taxation and many other things. But now we in the opposition just need to take. People in the opposition need to take stock of exactly what the mistakes the government are doing. Not go out there and demonstrate and try and tell the government, you must do this. No, you can't. Who are you to tell the government you must do this? The government is going to, just a moment, the execution, the role of governance is on the elected government of the day. Ours is to take the stock and prepare ourselves, or whoever is in the opposition, to prepare themselves for the next election with a view to saying, you elected this government, you see these other mistakes they're making, these other mistakes. But not going out there and telling them, no, you can't do this, otherwise we'll go out and demonstrate. Who are you? You've lost. And you better play your opposition politics both in Parliament, in the House, and in your caucuses, and in your rallies, so that you are able to take over power and tell Kenyans, choices have consequences.
Thank you.
You went for this government. You're paying the prices right now. You are having a problem. And let them also say, we're bringing on these beautiful programs. This is their program. I don't have any problem with them bringing their program. You get my point? Who are we in the opposition to keep on shouting? Let them bring new taxes. George Bush brought new taxes. The Democrats did not go out there into the streets to say, no, we're not going to pay these new taxes the way we're trying to do now. It is the business of the government of the day to levy taxes. When they levy taxes, the opposition can only criticize.
Right. But the question will be, of course, and I come to you in Kenyan, paying taxes is not the problem. But the issue of the framework around it, if there are queries, that has to be addressed, first of all. I mean, I think Kenyans, they have no problem in paying taxes, but they want to know where this taxes going. Is there any clarity who is collecting this fund, the housing levy? Is it a parallel system as is being raised by Senior Counsel Lieutenant Molo of taxation, and and the withdrawals? There is no clarity around that. Where will this fund go? Is it going also to be channeled to NSSF as
you do
also
that?
being put
You do that.
in the
I've
public
taken
domain?
a long time to listen to everything. You do that by chronicling all those ills and using against the government. You can't stop the government of the day from doing what.
But where do we call the ills if it's not on the floor of the House?
That's the point. That's
Where
the
you're
point.
not given any chance.
No.
Yeah, to do that.
I think we are mixing too many things. First, I think some of us don't even understand the procedures of our own houses and the mandates of parties. Kenya is a multi-party state. We have one of the most vibrant, progressive constitutions. And the assumption my two friends are making is that everything starts with Parliament and ends with Parliament. No, Parliament is just one of the arms, one of the many arms. Some people will say three, but in my opinion, there are many other outside the three traditional arms. We have two independent offices, the Office of the Auditor General and the Office of the Controller of Budget. So whereas even Parliament passes a bill and assume, as they say, that bill does not meet the test of their constitutional interpretation. Because for me, it meets my constitutional interpretation, the test of my constitutional interpretation. There will be other checks and balances. There will be other agencies. The Office of the Controller of Budget, the Office of the Auditor General, the Office of Ethics and Anti-Corruption. Many other offices will be there to make sure these funds are used for the intended purpose. There's something that they've also misled Kenyans. This is not the only fund where the CDF is managed by a fund manager. The road levy is managed by a fund manager. They're not saying, and members of Parliament know how it works. It's not an open-ended check. So I think it's good to be factual. That being the case, our two friends are also disadvantaged because I think they have been just in one party. Ask us. We have seen the workings of different parliaments, including being even the National Deputy Vice Chair of ODM, a party that they subscribe to. That is not, what they're alluding to is not the working of the ODM that I know. I know when ODM is serious on a particular issue. I know when they are accomplice in a particular. I know when they want to play games. I can tell you this housing it's not. Things have changed, my friend. You will not be given instructions, but you need to read the lips of your leaders. Don't float.
Lip reader.
These two are too extremely honest. You know, I really empathize with them. Read it and lip sync. Yes. This one. But you know, Mola and my friend here. This is too principle. Only that day, you only needed to watch the face, the body language of your leader in the house. But that's been the case. My friend Farah was not there. That day you'll have been shocked. Actually, it's a drama. It's up there throughout the whole period. Throughout the period. Let's address facts. The procedures of the House is something that you all participated, we all understand. And as I said earlier, that the Kenyan Parliament tradition is not something that is completely out of, that has come out of the blue. It's part of the internationally accepted parliamentary traditions. As to how we apply it, it depends now with us as the leaders. And I think I will say they have fairly done very well, and we have seen it all. The workings of PGs, it all depends on you. I know how, once, you remember when I was your National Deputy Vice Chairman. In fact, there never used to be questions. Baba will come, just dictate, do this, and it ends. I've had the privilege of serving PG under Kibaki, PG under Moi, PG under Raila, PG under Ruto. Literally, I know the workings. My friends have decided they've only seen one source, Raila. So if you want to know the workings of a PG, deal with your PG secretary, deal with your parliamentary leader, pass on to Article 108, and you will understand you have every right to make sure your presence is felt in the House. So I want to also disabuse this notion. Me, as a member of Parliament, as your father of Parliament, I cannot be bought. I can only be persuaded. I want you to take that to the bank, and you know it. I can only be persuaded. But there's a time, Debal, this country, there's a saying, when a leader does not address a problem, the problem becomes the leader. When you don't address a problem, the problem becomes the leader, and the leader becomes the problem. Indecision has been our problem since we got our independence. To the extent that indecision has become our leader. We have lost direction. This country, and people ask yourself, once upon a time we were a premier nation with everything. The West, the British left us with everything. By now we ought to be in the League of Developed Nations. Because of such shenanigans, because of lack of decision making, we have lost everything. Today we are competing with Somalia, Southern Sudan, Eritrea. I don't want to say, I don't want to cast aspersion. The fact that the president is making decisions on NSSF, on the housing levy, on the road, on health, on this, it's kudos. As to whether it will work or not, the making of these laws is not cast in stone. It's not the Bible, it's not the Quran. You can always bring an amendment even tomorrow. You can expand certain provisions in court. You can bring an amendment tomorrow in the Senate, in the National Assembly. So what we are doing right now is we are not making a permanent law. My friend, listen to this. The way my friends are put it, we are not making a permanent law. This is a procedural thing. Tomorrow you can bring something through what I call delegated legislation. Amend this. You know the sources of law that we have. So what I want to disabuse is this. This housing levy was in the manifesto of both Azimio and KK. On its practicality and how it's going to be implemented is, I think, now the difference.
The levy, no, you have said levy. You should say the housing.
Housing program.
Not levy.
Housing program.
Yeah.
I have already corrected my good friend that this is not the only fund. This is not the only fund. We have the CDF fund. We have the housing fund.
Correct, because you are wrong, and I'll explain why. Let's say that's your view.
Of course,
it's not a correction.
Okay, that is my view.
Yes.
That is my view. You know, we will never have the same interpretation.
I'll explain.
Now, the other bit is the fact that a member does not agree with the position of another coalition. You brand that member as corrupt, as somebody who has been compromised. It's undemocratic. willingly, I am supporting the housing program. Many other members have joined the same. I'm sure even my friend Farah supports the housing program. He may have differences on the application of the procedures in the house, and many other members are doing the same. So I want them to apply a bit of decorum and respect and civility in their description of their colleagues. I am not an impic.
But it's not them who say
No,
it's actually the cartoonist.
the fact that
It's the public.
let me say this.
Look at the cartoon there.
Let me say this. That cartoon was drawn by an irresponsible
Cartoonist.
cartoonist.
Himself a cartoon.
Yes, let me explain
himself
it.
is
And
a
he has every
cartoon.
right because he has to sell. He has to sell. He has to generate money. I have no problem because that person is within his or her democratic space to project us in that particular. And by the way, it's not the first time. You remember in the 10th Parliament when we have had a challenge with SRC. You remember? By then I remember you were an assistant minister. They even come and they had pics named at the particular members of Parliament. And he said, no, my friend here was a deputy speaker. Now, that's history. It will continue. It shows the vibrancy in the nature of our democracy.
Okay.
The bit I want to correct my friend here is Parliament's a house of lobby. That is why, under the current parliamentary structure, through PSC, parliamentary leadership are facilitated to the extent that they can mobilize, lobby their facilities. They have offices, they have staff to enable them deal with their members. If your leadership fail and KK leadership put to use in that particular provision, then why complain? Your leaders are not up to the task. My concluding remark on this is this. Because of the nature of our democracy, we'll continue to have divergent views. But I will accept one thing, and that is my view.
Thank you.
The fact that we are making decisions.
Thank you.
The fact that we are making decisions. The fact that we are legislating. The fact that we are not fighting. The fact that we are arguing. The fact that we are deliberating. It's good for our democracy. So bring your viewpoints. I'll bring my viewpoints. Put them to debating mechanism. We agree, we disagree, we vote, you defeat, I defeat. Ultimately, that is the benchmark of democracy.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Danson Mugatana, because you raise the issue of the road levy, the issue also of CDF, of which you can't really compare with the housing levy, because collectively as a nation, we're not contributing to CDF. Just a moment. We're not contributing to CDF, or we're not contributing to, all Kenyans are not contributing to the road levy.
In the context of fund manager, that's what I was saying.
Yes, in the context
of fund manager.
Yes.
Not the other details.
But on the fund manager, because
money
I wanted to know, because that's why we're raising question then.
So the value
it is taxation. CDF money is taxed. It's a government revenue, and the government
It's
revenue
your
comes
money.
from taxation.
But from my pay slip, I can't see CDF.
It's your
Especially
money.
like a housing
But
levy.
it says-
Yeah, I can't see CDF as expressly as a housing levy that
Still
you will
your
be.
money, you can call it.
No. I think those are diametrically
You're
different.
mixing issues.
It's your court. Sasa wewe umefaa hii, mimi nimefaa hii, ni koti tu.
It depends. Kuna ile koti ya million
See, there's no tax called CDF tax.
Mine is 3,000, yours is
No, don't bet. Yours-
50,000. So, that's the only difference.
No, but the question I want is, because it has to be expressly also limped from the particular bill that we have, who is the collector of this fund and who will manage this fund?
Who is the source of this? Where is the source of this fund?
The source of the fund we know
It's
it's
the public,
Kenyans, it's the
you.
public, yeah. Danson Mugatana, I think these are questions that Otende has raised, and we've not addressed these questions. And I think also when it comes to the Senate, this will be a handy opportunity for you to also try and thrash out this matter and tell us where are these fundings being administered, who is collecting the funding, right? Why is it changing from a person to a body corporate? Those are critical questions that are being raised. Will it be channeled to NSSF, as it's been also in the public domain that people are asking questions around the NSSF and the housing levy?
Okay, let me just say that who is the collector of this fund? To just answer that question, I know that there is a board from the last time I read this, but I'm waiting to see what text has come from the National Assembly. But the original text provided that there is going to be a body, a board that is created within the Affordable Housing Bill that is going to manage those funds, okay? So in terms of who is the collector, they are going to designate somebody to collect the funds. But the critical thing is there will be a body that is set up within the Affordable Housing Bill that will manage those funds and will apply them according to the sections of the Act, within the powers that have been defined within the Act. And for me, I think we have an opportunity to tighten the loose bolts. Why?
So this body is amorphous?
It's not amorphous. It is defined. There's a PS there, I think, for housing. There's the PS for treasury. There are a number of people, and I know the Honorable Oundo had introduced an amendment to bring in, that is a National Assembly, to bring in an expert within that same body. So I know it's not amorphous, it's a well-defined body. What I can tell Kenyans is that one of the problems we have had with funds like NSSF and the scandals that have, accompanied that very big housing schemes. You remember the Sololo schemes and so on, that people could not explain some things, and money has been expended. I saw a committee of parliament also querying some huge monies that were paid to, normally it is architectural firms that are paid, and then you cannot explain why has the money been paid and there's no project in sight. So I think we have an opportunity to tighten now, because it's like we are starting afresh. We have an opportunity to tighten through this main law, the mother law, plus the delegated legislation, the regulations that will come, to tighten the system so that we don't allow people to run away with our money. So I think that is a good opportunity for us to have a fresh start. I also wanted to address another issue. It has been mentioned here, and Kenyans listening to me maybe are worried.
Acknowledging a fresh start, it means there's a lot of queries that are fraught with this particular bill.
Not this bill, I'm saying there's a fresh start as opposed to like National Social Housing, NSSF, that was there before. NSSF had a lot of issues, and other funds previously, National Hospital Insurance Fund, for example. Wherever you have big funds that are put together in one place, the history of this country has shown that people tend to misuse those funds. So we say that in this bill now, we have an opportunity, picking everything that we have from our history, to make sure that we tighten the law, we tighten the regulation, so that our money is not going to go anywhere outside creating the affordable housing. But I also wanted to say something. A question has been asked that the law seems to have, the text that is coming from the National Assembly seems to have changed from individuals to allow corporate bodies. I think that issue was raised. I wanted to say this, that some of the corporate bodies, like SACCOs have the capacity to make huge investments, and we have seen they have been able to buy land for their members, subdivide it, and members end up getting something. SACCOs have been able to do a lot for this country in terms of helping people to invest. So I don't see any problems with a teacher's SACCO, with a private SACCO of, let's say, the parliamentary SACCO, let's say the police SACCO, let's say the teachers SACCO, let's say nurses union, nurses SACCO, or whichever company. When they say our members have been contributing this, instead of buying land, let us now invest in, we are maybe those who are interested in this program apply, and maybe 40 members apply, and we say now we are going to take it as a corporate body. Okay?
Are you by any chance a member of Ekeza SACCO?
I don't know about Ekeza, but I want to say this. I'm making a very important point. I am saying that members of a SACCO can decide to go to affordable housing. I think opening that space so that more units can be bought is not moving away from the initial plan, because it means that we are opening up the opportunities for more Kenyans to take up those positions. Why should we say SACCOs can buy land and subdivide and make their people better And border circles, for example, there are many everywhere. At least in Tana River County, I can speak with authority. There are very many there. If they decided that instead of us applying 111, let us come together, 30 of us, so that we apply for these affordable housing units together, you know, and the rules will still apply, because you can't apply without putting your ID, your name, and so on. So I think some of those issues that are being raised, to me, they are not moving away from the bill, they are making the bill better. There's been this question also that how can a public land, can we use public land to do private apartments or private whatever?
Development.
I want to say this, that any title deed you take today, it will say it is a leasehold from the government. So it is government land that is being leased to you. Even when you buy the title, you will see. That's why government, you pay taxes, you file returns at the end of the year, you have to pay something for you even to continue having that title. Even Nairobi City County here will still ask, because it's a leasehold. So in the same way, when the property is in government land, let's say it is City Hall land that is being taken and a huge building is put up, Sectional Properties Act can come in, and the same county government can give the rights to that land. So for me, it is just a question of collaboration. And I know, like in Tana River, the county government and the national government are working together to make sure the program is successful. However, one of the things that I think I would like to really put in this bill when it comes to the Senate is that we need to differentiate. There is the Kenya, which is urban, and Kenya, which is rural. Just like India, you have rural housing programs and you have urban housing program. And the government of India tends to desegregate even the terms and conditions and the way it should apply. So like for us in Tana River County, we have more land, a lot of land. So we don't need to be put together in the same thinking and the same planning like an urban area, like Mombasa, for example.
Like Buxton,
or Buxton. So we don't need to crowd people. You can do small houses, and it will cost us cheaper, and the land is available. So we need to input within this legislation a provision that allows for differentiation in terms of how this affordable housing is going to be applied in various counties, taking into consideration local conditions and local available land. So I think we still have room to improve.
Right.
And like Honorable Maalim said, this is not a constitution we are making. We are making a normal law, and we can always improve on it, unless it is against the constitution, in which case the court will stop it. But if it is okay, we can improve it and keep improving it until Kenyans get the big thing, which is more units of housing per person.
Right. I think it's Honorable Tedemono. Yeah, it's Okongo Morgan.
Yes. First.
You know, today it looks like I'm here to listen more.
No, you.
We're all listening. Yes, listen more.
Continue.
You know, I've been with Honorable Mungatana for a very long time. We were together in university. We were student leaders together. And I know he's a Christian. When he's trying to shift from the truth, I always know, like his body language. You know, he told you today that in State House we were given a time to make contribution. You know, I was waiting to hear him say, you know, I told the president to remove this clause from the housing bill. He didn't make any reference to any comment he made touching on the affordable housing bill. That tells you he went there and sat being a good, polite senator.
Waiting for the debate.
And he was just told, you want this thing enacted by Friday. Otherwise, he could have told us. I know him very well. He could have told us, you know, when I was in the State House, I shot up and I told the president this affordable housing bill has the following issues. But he never got that opportunity. That's why I said the PG was just a lecture session for my friends here to be told, I want this thing enacted by Friday. Even if you listen, you know, I know Kenan is my good friend. If you put him to task, he didn't even take a lot of time to read this bill. He just said, Mkuba amesema, wacha tupitishe. But, you know, now, speaking to Kenyans, because me, I know, you know, in the last 2 weeks, I've been to 3 different counties, you know. I was in Migori, I was in my neighboring county of Kisii. This weekend, I was in Machakos. You know, if you want to have a proper feel of Article 94, that Parliament reflects the will of the people, I can tell you, everybody you speak with out there, they will tell you, please, save us from that affordable housing thing. It's a scheme by government to just siphon money from us and enrich a few. And if you read the framework, you will see, you know, who doesn't know about NSSF in this country? When you see a bill telling you that we are taxing Kenyans to give this money to private sector, to private enterprises, private companies to build houses, that should warn you that this should just be a scandal. Why are you bringing people like National Housing Corporation to start receiving this money? And they have been there for many years, receiving a section of money that is collected from Kenyans to build houses. They have done it as a business, build, selling to people, you know. So even as my friends here mentioned that it's not our business to check that we don't pass bad laws, it can be very costly. You know, the IBC amendment bill came to National Assembly, it was pushed through, it came to the Senate. The chairman of Justice Legal Affairs Committee brought proposed amendments to the floor, one of which was to remove Public Service Commission from picking a nominee to sit in the selection panel. He received a phone call during lunch break. When he came back, he said, I've been told I should not do an amendment. And he withdrew the report. We passed that bill. We have not had IEBC for the last 2 years because of a bad law that was passed by us, all of us here. Now we have gone back to the drawing board. The same amendments that the chair had brought to the floor are the ones that have come back to the House through NADCO. So it's always good to be cautious that you don't get pushed through and pass bad laws in that pretext that this is not a constitution or this is not a Bible, this is not a Quran. Members of Parliament are there to ensure that we don't pass bad laws. Otherwise, we'll then sit back and say, let every law come, even if it's back the way Honorable Kenani is saying. Just pass it, you'll wake up one day, come back to amend it. All these concerns that are being raised by Honorable Mugatana, very good concerns. But I'm telling you, the moment he gets communication that the boss has said, pass as is, you will not, you put your camera in the Senate, you will not see. That's where the problem is. You know, if His Excellency the President led people like, very progressive people like Mugatana to exercise his mind on the floor, we'll pass very good legislation. So I'm praying that when it comes to the Senate, you know, there are only 2 people now who can save this country from this very unpopular law. Either the Senate rises to the occasion and we restore the dignity of a member of Parliament, or the courts of law. Only those 2 are the only saviors Kenyans are looking up to. So I want to urge my friend, you look at the history of the Senate. There's a time we rose up to the occasion during the second revenue sharing formula. We were put under a lot of pressure from the then president, Uhuru Kenyatta. But you know, we read Article 96 and said, look, if you look at the history of all parliaments that are bicameral, oftentimes you get bad laws from the House of Representatives. But it's the Senate that is supposed to rise up, because we represent counties and we present the interest of all the people that reside in counties. So I want to urge my colleagues from UDA to forget about the shenanigans of party affiliation. We now act as people who are there to represent public interest and the best interest of the people of Kenya. That's what the nation is looking up to. Now, Dibal, I've read the UDA manifesto. You have heard Honorable Keinan, though he doesn't belong to UDA, saying that this thing was in the manifestos of all the coalitions. It's true. But if you read the UDA manifesto, they did not mention that they are going to tax Kenyans 1.5% of their income. They did not. They just say they will implement the affordable housing, but there will be no additional taxation on Kenyans. The same thing with this chief. Because now I hope you don't buy many spoons. You know the new proposed law on social health insurance fund. It says that the government is going to walk around the country to go to Tana River, go to Rarieda, come to Nyamira, visit our homes, assess how many spoons you have, how many chicken. You know, very ridiculous laws we passed. After they see how many camels people have in Mheshimiwa's constituency, then they will now say, we have seen how much you own, and this is the percentage you are going to pay for social health insurance fund. Very ridiculous laws. And you know, that proposal was in the main health, the social health insurance fund. We said, let's debate, put there a figure that Kenyans should pay. Members were convinced that, you know, let's surrender that power to the minister. Now look at the proposals, ridiculous proposals that members of parliament, the minister is proposing. Me, I've told my people, you know, with this insecurity, you cannot allow people to come working in homes, assessing what you, how will you even do it? Are you going to have a body like IEBC to move in the entire Kenya and see the income of people? Then how will you even classify? Do you go to Tana River and say you pick 100 homes and then you say, now I've seen the income of people in Tana River and this is what they are going to pay? Very, very, very bad legislations. Finally, always read the mood. You know, you always read the mood. How Kenyans, when Kenyans are dissatisfied with the government, you can see. You know, Kimani Ichung'wah has been one of the most popular members of parliament. But it is becoming even difficult even to address people in Kiambu because of the bad laws we are passing and because of the negative impact these laws are having on our people. So I want to urge our members of parliament to know that the sovereign power is with the people. As we pass bad laws, we are going to be asked questions. You know, this law is telling you that the fisherman in Mungatana's constituency, the guy who was in Ngamia in your constituency, and you, who is selling goats, is also going to be brought to the tax bracket. The tea farmer in Nyamira, the coffee farmer in Nyamira, is going to start paying affordable housing tax at 1.5% of his gross income. And what are you telling them? You are not taxing them to improve their houses in the rural areas. You are taxing them to move them from their wives to go and stay in urban centers.
Thank you.
You are going to build flats so that they move from their homes to go and live in apartments in urban centers. Me in Nyamira have been told in black and white, we don't want our income to be taxed to go and build apartments in town.
Thank you.
So let's put our ears on the ground to feel what's the mood like from the people before we pass some of these laws.
Okay. Let's just get our parting shots briefly, even as if you may condense.
Very quickly, first of all, Honorable Kenan started by saying that he cannot be bought, which is a good statement. But it presupposes the others who are bought, because otherwise none of us here said anyone was bought. But when you say
he said members were compromised. He said members were
but not bought. That's different. Compromise by way of lecture.
He said members were bought.
That I also said.
He said members were given handouts.
Which is also probably true anyway. But for me, for you to say it, you should have said members cannot be bought. When you say I cannot, it means the others who can, you know, and we know that they are, that they are anyway. Now, two things. First, Honorable Farah starts well but ends wrongly. Honorable Farah, you know,
you're auditing what everybody
yes, but that's what we are discussing.
That's the debate.
You know, it is true that every party is entitled to develop its own, you know, plans,
mechanisms for
plans. Yes. Okay, but you cannot leave them to execute them merely because they're in government. You must treat it first to the test of constitutionality. Secondly, rationality. Yeah. Thirdly, reasonableness. When this order, when they passed the finance bill, we said the same thing we are saying now. They said we didn't know what we are talking about until the court corrected it. And by the way, what Onomugenu was saying is true. If you were meaningful, those of us who are in court, you'd have agreed that let us highlight what the court said. How is it addressed in the bill? That has never been done. Secondly, Honorable Farah, we cannot allow Kenyans to be overtaxed merely because we have an UDA regime that is focused on overtaxation. Overtaxation is also a matter of law. And it's not just the ones Honorable Mugeni has pointed out. Even the NSSF has also gone up. And by the way, the affordable housing is not 1.5, it is 3%, with a danger of being increased by another 3% if you default for 30 days. You know, and it's just crazy. Two things to be corrected. First, in terms of what Honorable Adan Kenan was saying, that this is not the only fund. This is a unique fund. And all the other funds you gave an example operate differently. First, money is appropriated. That's not the same with this fund. This fund appropriates money by itself. On the other one, money is appropriated, and if the income is low, then you get lower. Even then, the NGCDF, if it's high, you could get high. It's controlled by Parliament. This one is prior controlled. Secondly, there's the funding, the taxation is from the pool, is not from a separate fund. And lastly, it is controlled by the controller of budget. I am now persuaded you've not read the amendments. If you look at clause 12, just very quickly, there's somebody created called the fund administrator. The fund administrator has immense powers, okay, to supervise and control the day-to-day administration of the fund, okay, to open and operate the accounts of the fund, to keep books of accounts and other books of the fund. But then now we added something very dangerous, yeah, to authorize withdrawals out of the fund. That is the job of the controller of budget if it was the normal funds, okay? So we are in danger of creating a separate regime, both of collecting taxes and administering. Lastly, Honorable Mungatana is unable to answer a very fundamental question and is a serious lawyer. He conflates private land with public land. You only need to look at Article 63, 62, 63, and 64D to know that there are three regimes of ownership of land, and you can't conflate them. If you look at 64B, the leasehold it talks about is private land. It is not public land. So you can't say that because it is government that gives the lease, therefore it's public land. You cannot. These are questions that could have been answered very fundamentally. Now, when he says that we have the opportunity to tidy it, I agree with him, because that's all we've been saying. We could have tidied these things during public participation, during debate in the National Assembly, during amendment, but we can't. And lastly, they will not tidy it in the Senate. Watch this space.
Right.
They will just be, you know, shouting much little things here and there, and then it will be passed. It will be assented with the same day.
They'll put the question. They'll put the question. Headline thoughts. Yeah. Oh, it's you, right? Then we're actually giving our headline thoughts briefly.
Yeah.
Headline thoughts, just briefly.
To begin with, I want to tell the people who are here and Kenyans, the people who take handouts and people who are compromised are the leaders of this country. Because they all look at Uhuru Kenyatta, how rich he is and how poor he was when he came in there. Look at his father. Look at Jaramogi. Look at the current president. Look at Moi. People who are there because of using the position they have at this stage to make money are those people. I have never taken a bribe, and I can pick up a Holy Quran and swear to it in my almost 35 years of being in politics. This business of people always shouting, you know, somebody called me one time, and I want to be very...
We're winding up.
Yeah. Somebody called me and told me, I took that position because of Tumbocrats. And that person happened to be a Luo from Luo Nyanza, from a very big family. And I said, look, if it is that business, it is your family that takes money. My family has never taken. My dad was a small businessman, rose up through that, created his own wealth. I did the same thing also myself. We do business ourselves, particularly the Somali community. We don't take money from anybody. If you see any politician who's a Somali, he might go for business to the government, but he will never take money from somebody. No, let me just finish that. Let me just finish. So this business of always saying when politicians take a position, oh, it is tumbo, oh, it is compromised, oh, it's paid. I think that is one thing we should disabuse ourselves from. I know people do that, but many of us don't do that at all. The second thing, when you take a principled position, for example, personally, I am opposed, and Tienda Moro knows that, I want this government to have its own freeway and leeway to run this country for the period that they were given a mandate by Kenyans. And for us to, for those who are in the opposition, to chronicle those problems, and then at the appropriate time say, look, this government has failed. Hang on a minute, everybody talk. You're trying to cut me short. But if you cut me short, I'm not coming back here again. I'm not coming back again. Yeah, just a second. Let me tell you. You chose to have a full house yourself. It's not me. You chose to have that. Now, second, please let Kenyans respect the opinions, the political persuasions, the positions of politicians. I don't want to stay who I am, but every Kenyan knows how I've been in politics all this time. When I see something good, I was in Qatar, by the way. I just came back from Qatar, and I was told over 50,000 Kenyans have gone there in the last 1.5 years. And you go to everywhere, you see Kenyans who are working there. So when I see Ruto saying that he's pushing for employment for Kenyans outside the country, I have every reason to support it. Because I can see the benefits and the fruits of it.
Thank you.
So when the government does something good,
we
as politicians will say they've done good. If they do something bad, we'll say they've done bad. And we don't want anybody to have cast aspersions on basically why we do these things.
Thank you, Farah.
I have a lot of development going on in my constituency, and I'm happy that they're going on. And I respect the government for having done that. Now, these are the kind of things we should talk about.
Thank you, Farah. Thank you, Farah. And your closing remarks. Just give me a one-liner.
Yes, we say ignorance is not.
It's not defense. It's not defense. Yeah.
And the way my good friend here, Omugeni, tried to present his facts is like he's behaving as if he's a doomsday prophet. You see, we have a government in place. First of all, let me put it straight. I am a member of Jubilee, one of the 3 parliamentary parties in the National Assembly. And therefore, we act judiciously, we act independently, and we support what we feel is good to the extent of our creative minds. To that end, we cannot be cajoled by Azimio or KK. We support what is good.
Thank you.
I want to agree with what Farah has said. The fact that over the years we have been in the yoke of indecision to the extent that we have lagged behind in everything. And we have a very progressive president who is making decisions. Let our friends allow him to make mistakes. Let him make decisions. If in the process he becomes unpopular, and I do know in the next 1 year, like right now, today the dollar is, I'm told, is going at 137. The doomsday agents predicted that it will be 200. You see, allow the president and the government to make decisions.
Thank you.
Interrogate those decisions.
Thank you.
When the elections come
at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
When the election, this is my conclusion. When the elections come 2027, and I say they are floating because the owner of their party has already made a decision on where to support. When that time comes, interrogate the government on its failures.
Thank you.
For now, you can say, don't make this decision. Do this is right. We are acting on 2 completely competing manifestos. The only linkage is all of them must work within the confines of the sovereign republic of Kenya.
Allow me to button just to stop there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. We've heard you, and we still wait for 2027. I think Danson Mungatana and Okongo Omogeni, you'll be the sacrificial lamb today. I'll give you more time next week when we circle back. Thank you so much because of time. I really appreciate it. Father, thank you. Otene Molo, I really appreciate you coming through. Eden Kenan and Danson Mungatana, thank you. Right? Atiende, Amolo, Atiende. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
I love a poster behind me.
Siasa Fiesta.
My name.
Is that directed to someone here around in this panel that we know very well?
Yes.
I somebody cannot pronounce this kind of names that mixing them up.
P and B.
P and B.
Yes.